Okay, I am working on a Boxcar Pulse. This is one of my latest model. I haven't sold too many of these yet. Haven't built too many of these yet. I'm still kind of working out the kinks of it, I think. But I have a second one here. This is actually the last order I have of my backlog before I can start taking orders again. And I am trying to tune it to E. Excuse me, this one has been tuned to C2. Not too long ago, as you can see here. Come on, focus. Fire Dash the Pyro Fox. He wanted to see the tuning process. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to do the tuning process. And what I've done so far is cleaned up the trigger as best I can with varying grades of sandpaper. And as well, a little bit of preemptive filing. Sorry for the focus. I gotta undo it. How do I do it? Just auto. Is that good? No. All right, I'm gonna edit. I'm gonna edit this out. Hold on a second. Okay, let's try this again. Now, so what I'm gonna do, what I've done already so far is I've done a little bit of preemptive filing on the sides, and I tend to basically I tune up. So the Harp has a note already, and I use an app called Soundbrenner. What I'll do is I'll just put this right here for a sec. I think you can see that. Should be able to. Okay, so let's see where we're at. What's going on here? So I'm way off below D sharp. So what I need to do is I need to take material off the end to lighten the cantilever load of the reed, and I will change the vibration of the reed. It'll cause it to vibrate a little faster and therefore bring up the tone. So what I do is I like to start putting a bit of a taper on my trigger, and I use my belt sander here. I go a little bit at a time, try to be as even as possible, and then we see where we're at. So if you remember, I was at D sharp, right around in the minus 40, minus 50 cent scale. Let's try this again. And what I'll do is I'll keep doing this until I have got, basically if I've gotten into this 22 cent range, that's when I start to go a little bit more by hand, because it is easy to take off a little bit too much and then overshoot your note. And there's a few things you can do with the shape of the trigger in order to get your tuning back. But if you do overshoot too far, it's generally a lost cause. So I'm going to continue doing this process and smoothing out the sides until I have, you get to a point where you're actually using 1000 grit sandpaper to get it right on the note. So let's see where I've gotten on this one. That's the process. Adios. Okay, so I've done that. I've worked with the belt sander a little bit, used my file on the edge, and I've gotten pretty close now to where I want it E2. About 20 cents below. And the timbre of the instrument, the sound quality is starting to hone in where I was hoping it would be too. So now that I'm getting this close, I tend to use sandpaper and just continue to polish off any edges and use the sandpaper to take material off, because I can much more finely control it. Control the removal, do a bit of work, stop every now and then. I'm going to try not to do this front surface here because I've already polished that, so I can get the action as I'm testing it. You want a nice smooth trigger, so I used 1000 grit sandpaper to do that. So I've already, plus it looks ugly after I've used the torch. If you see, there's a little bit of the black material left on the inside that I like to a certain extent, but you don't want it completely all over it. So I try to polish it off a little bit with sandpaper. But for this, I am looking to actually remove material such as this bird edge a little bit and just start to shape the metal down, give it a bit more of a smooth surface. Let's see where we're at. So it bought me about 4 cents. So I'm just going to keep going. It is nice sometimes to, kind of keep some music going or something while you're in this process, but it also, you got to try and tune your harp, so you can't play anything in the background. I can't keep that going, the belt sander, because it comes in at a A6 or something like that, or I don't know what it was. I also just keep an eye on the gaps, make sure I haven't misaligned anything in the meantime. Keep going. I try to be as close to perfect as I can. What I actually like to do is I overshoot my tuning by about 2 cents, just because I feel like the harp is going to relax a little bit. Maybe being up here in Canada, right now it's not colder than anywhere else. Right now it's about, I think today's going to be about, I don't know, we've had a heat wave. We're in the 30s. It's been, with the Humidex, we've been getting up into the 40-degree temperature ranges, which has been pretty hot. So, but at any rate, I tend to be at a more northern climate. So if it stretches out, if you're down in the States or something like that, I figure it goes down under the tuning. But also, I coat it with coconut oil, which is what is in here. Sorry if I'm going off camera on a lot of this. I'm more rambling and paying attention to what I'm doing than being focused in the camera. But anyway, that adds a bit of weight to it, so it tends to bring the tuning down as well. Getting close. Keep it going. Sometimes, too, I will take the file and just knock off a little bit of an edge, kind of where the sun don't shine here. You got to be careful with the file, though, because it removes a lot more material than the sandpaper. Also trying to make sure that there's no sharp edges or anything that's going to catch on your finger. Go a little bit more with some sandpaper, I think. So it's a process. It's can be kind of slow. Sometimes it comes pretty quick, but hopefully this has been entertaining enough. Okay. All right, let's try this. All right, at this point, I think I'm going to switch to the 800 grit, which is my last chunk. So it's been worn down a bit. If I'm not getting anywhere with it, we'll see. So this is kind of the final stage of polishing off this trigger, is what brings the tuning to right where I want it. And this process is a lot quicker if I'm not tuning a harp at all. Sometimes people like untuned harps, myself included. I made one out of a nail that we found camping and a piece of hacksaw blade that I left untuned on purpose. And all I did was clean up the trigger so it was nice and easy to play. And when the note that it was at, which was untuned, was just what it was going to be. All right, let's see where we're at. Go a little more. And I'll switch her over to the 1000 and just basically polish everything off again. You want all the loose bits of the heating process off too. I also use a small file, this guy right here, a little needle file, and I get on the inside of the trigger. That's a good spot to kind of remove material without affecting the look of it or leaving any, edges or dings or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna probably switch over to the 1000 in a minute. It is a bit of a judgment call, and this is just a free app, so this probably isn't totally perfect tuning, but I try to be as accurate as possible. Okay, hopefully this is the final stretch. Sometimes you can just also bend it a little bit, bend it ahead, bend it back a bit. What I mean by that is bend the trigger either this way or bend it that way, and then that adjusts the weight center of center of vibration, if I can call it that. I guess it moves the point of vibration. I don't know. I'm not an acoustical engineer. I'm an electrical engineering technologist. Hence the name of my harps, you may have noticed. The Boxcar Surge, as in a power surge. The Boxcar Flux, as in electromagnetic flux. That's how energy is transferred between transformers to bring one voltage to another, transforming, as it were. The spike, which could be a voltage spike. And then, of course, the pulse, which is pulse waveforms, pulse, it's a digital electronic thing. Right. I think that's it. And then what I'm going to do, I've got 99% isopropanol that I just give it a good clean. Give it a quick little wipe down, let it dry for a sec. This gets all the dust and everything off of it from grinding and filing away. Let it dry on my hands too. Yank out the coconut oil, which is just on a soaked rag. You don't need to go crazy thick on this. Oh, sorry. But I just give it a little coating, which also helps lubricate the trigger. and make it easier for playing. This is also a lot easier to do in the summertime when it's 30 degrees out because coconut oil tends to solidify at about room temperature. So I think about 23, 24 degrees is when it starts to liquefy. I'm gonna grab a shop towel, which I always tend to include with the Harp. There's a little bit of extra padding and packaging. Just wipe off any extra, because you just want to coat it so that it protects it from oxidation. You don't want it to be just drenched in it and get it all gummy and all that stuff. So yeah, and then it's always a good idea to keep it kind of oiled like that. Chapstick's a really good trick. Get a little bit on your fingers and just kind of rub it around. I've heard even just the oils in your fingers isn't bad, but I mean, if you're sweating or something, I've caused them to rust while I'm making these too, because my hands are all sweaty. So anyway, here we go. Adios.